Jiggy, look back! Welcome back, fam. Right off the heels of our Banjo-Kazooie analysis, we're starting a new game to review. If you haven't checked out any of my other analyzing series, go back and take a look. So far, we've covered Donkey Kong 64, Diddy Kong Racing, and now Banjo-Kazooie. Today, we're visiting a game that I loved dearly and played to death as a kid. That's right, it's Rayman 2! Now, I thought I'd break up the format a little bit. I'm going to review every level in the game, but in each video, I'm going to do multiple levels. I'd like to take the levels in a quicker format and not necessarily talk about all the collectibles and their locations. This way I can summarize and focus more on the important things I want to talk about, which I can sum it up as the music and sound effects, the characters and animations, the level design, and overall plot. This may result in my videos being slightly longer, but covering more ground in a single part. Well, anyways, taking this one step at a time, let's start at the beginning. Into Rayman 2 we go! I wanted to start unconventionally. I don't think I really highlight the menus of these games, but Rayman 2's is very memorable to me. The music track that plays is so mysterious, it makes me go, what's this game about? And I like the little animals like the whale and the butterfly. It's an A-tier menu. Now, on to the opening cutscene. We get a plot synopsis of the game with Rayman being communicated to by a mysterious figure, which we later found out is Lee the Fairy. She tells us how the robot pirates have enslaved everyone and taken all the lums, which serve as the main collectible of the game. Lums are essentially little fairy creatures. The voice goes on and on about how Rayman is the only hope, even though he's already been captured. Hence the title, Rayman 2, The Great Escape. Then we get that little title drop, and this music slaps. Now let me ask, am I the only person who ever filled the themes of games like this with my own lyrics? Basically, I just say the title, like, Rayman to the great escape, escape, Rayman to the great escape. Now that that's done, we get a glimpse of the baddie's ship, and a handy prisoner count, which I thought was a funny addition. We see all the prisoners crying for help in the cages. I like that they put the little text about, like, they're asking for water and to spare us. It really adds to the cartoony atmosphere.
I really want to highlight the animations here. I mean, look at the hands subtly coming out of the cage.
The pirates are dragging a prisoner and throw him into the cage, and we see our boy Rayman. This wasn't just any prisoner, though. This was Globox. Aw, this reunion is so touching. Now here I get to talk about one of my favorite parts of this game, the gibberish. I know that other versions have full-on voice acting, but the gibberish on the 64 version makes me laugh. It's just too ridiculous. What they say, like, Rayman constantly says, Calabrew stew! And it's just too funny. Globox gives Rayman a mysterious silver lum, which gives him back the ability to throw his fists. Now we can make our way out by exiting this really convenient vent gate behind us. Now we're into gameplay to get a good sense of controls. They work pretty well. Rayman's movement is responsive and fluid. He's got a jump with a satisfying roll at the end, and you can do a copter gliding move. And of course, throw your fist, which are basically balls of light projectiles. You also have a strafe lock-on move, like in Zelda. The controls are simple, but they work well. I think other platformers should take a cue from this. Less can be more. So we leave, and then we get a fun slidey section, which also controls well. You'll see a lot of these throughout the game, but it's pretty much fun every time. The slide stops at the end, and insert a funny cartoony moment here. Globox is hilarious. What a great escape indeed. We land in a mysterious forest, seemingly separated from Globox, so we gotta go find him. I love the cartoony aesthetic the game is going for. You can appreciate looking at this game with all its subtle touches, like the mushrooms stacking on one another, the gentle waterfall, and even the butterflies moving around. You can tell a lot of love went into crafting this world. We get to meet Murphy, who serves as the tutorial fairy thing, and when you find his pads. I like that he makes whisper noises, but his smile is so dang creepy to continuously look at. You'll notice in the corner that you have a counter for 5 lums on the top and 2 cages on the bottom. Every world you enter will have lums and cages to collect. A lot of the time cages have lums inside them, so they kind of go hand in hand together. The music here is boppy and percussive. The melody's simple but effective when it comes in to make it memorable. It makes it feel like a cartoony island. It really captures that feel. I like how much sound design is actually here with the subtle waterfall running, to the cages creaking while swinging out, and the creature inside asking for help. Just take a moment and listen and appreciate all the ambient noise on top of the music. As we progress, we'll see some other creatures that inhabit this island. They don't do anything, and they're purely for looks, which add to the overall charm of this place and really help fill out the world. We do, however, get to encounter Glowbox's children, who are animated adorably. I love their high-pitched voices too, and they start crying. They are just so cute.
No.
And we get another one of Rayman's Calibre Stew. Someone should make a recipe called that based off this game. I'd eat something called Calibre Stew. Eventually, we make our way to a small section where we learn a new game mechanic, climbing. Rayman can Emperor's New Groove his way up these tight spaces. It works well enough and is different enough to separate it from Mario 64's wall jumping. Once we get to the top and break the cage, we meet the Teensies, who help us on our quest. They open a portal and we jump through, progressing into the level select hub, aka the Hall of Doors. This felt like a super creative way to introduce the level select. I always have fun finding these portals and jumping through. There's something about the particle sucking animation that you get on Rayman that it just, I don't know. Something about it, I always felt like Rayman was draining slowly into the portal and it made me want to be just around it. It was awesome. I love it. Before we progress into the Fairy Glade, let's review that first world that's called the Woods of Light. I think it serves its purpose as an intro to the game very well. It introduces several characters, a lot of charm, and explains the mechanics of the game in a quick and effective way. We also get some fun cutscenes and great music. I'll give it an overall 8 out of 10. I'd give it a little more, but I felt it was bogged down by a few too many cutscenes, like maybe they could have cut a few. Well, let's progress into the next level, the Fairy Glade. Into the level we go! Starting with the music, it's a little silly but memorable. Being someone who actually played Tonic Trouble before I ever played Rayman 2, it gave me mad Tonic Trouble vibes. Which makes sense, seeing that that game was basically a glorified tech demo for this game. We're introduced to a few more mechanics like swimming and climbing, as well as the air lums that give us air underwater. Now, I love Rayman's swimming animations, and I think the actual gameplay controls work super well. In a lot of these early platformers, the swimming is hit or miss, so it's good to see that they got this going well. Something satisfying about jumping on this mushroom and having fantastic sound effects to go with it. I, again, commend the sound design in this game. One of the things I love about this game is how easy it is to seemingly grasp a newly introduced mechanic. No matter what it is, it just seems to be really intuitive. As it should be. Like, just take, for example, the Switch. You look at it and go, I should throw my fist at it, and it flicks. And wouldn't you know it, it does. Other games like DK64 make you get a power-up or activate it beforehand somehow. I really appreciate Rayman 2's straightforwardness. We get some fun platforming in this level with these new mechanics like jumping over lily pads in piranha-infested waters and climbing under and running on top of this tree. I love the quick change into sliding on the water-covered walkways. The level progresses into a section where you encounter pirates, which is good, because the level had started to feel a bit empty with no enemies besides piranhas and whatever the heck these things are. I love that this gives you an opportunity to sneak up and insta-kill an enemy. But let's talk about the combat. Now, like I said, you have a strafing move and you can lock on. Essentially, you and an enemy shoot at each other until the other falls. It's really simple, but it's effective. I do wish there was a little more to it, like maybe adding a slap or something if you get close. Or heck, make it so you can combo a kick too. That would feel great, I think. But, like I said, It's solid, it works. You eventually find Lee the fairy, who has been imprisoned, and you destroy the machine capturing her, and again, a new mechanic with carrying barrels. It briefly touched it before, but it feels natural, and it just works. You break the machine, free Lee, and she gives you a new ability with another silver lum. And you get some more gibberish. Although Lee's is creepy sounding. I know as a kid I always wanted Rayman to keep gathering these silver lumps infinitely to get stronger and stronger.
I think that's in large part due to the really cool animation that plays and how cool the silver lump generally looks. Like, don't we all want to get one of those and absorb it into our body and we'd feel more powerful?
Lee tells us to find Polycus, the protector of the world, by gathering masks. More plot setup. So anyways, the new ability we get is to swing from the purple lumps. It's really fun, and I love how the length of the chain is based on the distance you are from the lump. We progress and fall down a poop chute, or whatever this is.
Whatever it's actually meant to be, it really does look like poop. I mean, oil? I don't know.
And then we get this section with tornadoes. While this isn't bad gameplay-wise, I do not enjoy the length of this part of the level. It drags on way too freaking long. I mean, you go into copter mode, start at the bottom of a twister, slowly ascend, and then try to find the next one once you're at the top and slowly glide over. And if you want to collect all the lumps, you have to use all of them.
I mean, come on, this is 1000% sped up, and it still takes forever.
But eventually you do get through it, hit a purple lump, and save a teensy who opens a portal, and boom, world completed. The Fairy Glade was overall a solid world. It progressed fairly quickly, introduced more game mechanics, and gave more plot. I'd also give this one an 8 out of 10. More of the same, just a bit more than before, only this time I'm not docking it because of the amount of cutscenes, but because of the super long tornado segment at the end. Like, if they halved that, I would have ranked it a point higher. Continuing our analysis of Rayman 2, we're sinking into the Marshes of Awakening. Let's do it! Into the level we go! Starting off, I want to highlight Rayman spiraling out of the portal. I just love this animation. Here we enter the marshes. We're offered some lily pads to jump, a log pathway, and a net. The music here isn't anything too special, it's just kind of percussive with ambient sounds and an occasional piano medley. It does change up, but we'll get into that in a minute. I wanted to point out Rayman's death animation. I thought it looks really cool how his body floats up and he glows until he disappears. It's reminiscent of what I loved in Mega Man, how he would die and turn into those little light balls and shoot outside of the screen. Classic. We follow the pathway to our right, we get to meet Sam. So as a kid, I always thought he was an alligator, but now I realize he's a snake. Hence the S sound. I can't believe I never gave that much thought. Just by looking at Sam, you can tell he's a bit of a Rayman fanboy with his own neckerchief. I want to point out the little fish jumping behind him as you're talking to him. I just love those little touches. Rayman asks Sam if he knows about the masks he's supposed to grab. Sam has no clue, but offers to take Rayman to the other side of the marsh. Naturally, we'll take him up on it, but first, I want to check out that other pathway. So, going up the other pathway and following the torches, you find some ghost-like zombie dudes that are animated creepily, followed up by
Mike Wazowski
in a wizard costume. The voice they chose for this character is super creepy sounding. Like, they pitched someone saying, "I know Jigsaw Jello" so low, which makes no sense, but they pitched it down really far and then slowed it down to make that creepy sound. We'll get more into this area, but we'll have to save it for later, as we need to come back. We go follow up with Sam, and we get the gameplay twist for this level. We attach ourselves to Sam's neck, and he pulls us on the water. I love the animations here with the water around Rayman's feet and his hair moving in such a way it makes you feel like you're zooming. Naturally, you have to traverse by a bunch of obstacles. It's not too hard unless you want to collect all the lumps, which of course I do. I think the gameplay here is absolutely solid, and the track that plays when you're riding Sam is really fun and bassy. Like a party in Louisiana. This is a much better track than at the start. So if you see my other videos, you'll probably guess I'm not a huge fan of the swamp aesthetic. My logic is, if I can be in a colorful and fun world, why would I want to be in something like this? It's kind of poopy. It's not bad, but it's just not my favorite. But anyways, Once you conquer this level, you say goodbye to Sam, and genuinely, it makes you sad. Like, why is he crying? It's like he has no friends but Rayman. Gosh, these animations will melt your heart. Rayman having the heart of gold he does, he promises to come visit. So, we find the Teensy and finish the level. Now for my review of this level. I think this level was a nice change of gameplay that breaks up just platforming and adds some charm and mystery to the game, and it offers an alternate pathway that you're now curious about. I think Sam is fun, but the overall music isn't anything to write home about. I'm going to give the Marshes of Madness a 7 out of 10. Now I want to talk about something I didn't cover in my last video. Bonus levels! So if you collect all the lums and cages in each level, you unlock access to a bonus level. In these levels, you play as a baby Glowbox, and you race this funny robot pirate to a fairy who will fill your life bar if you win. You play this bonus game by alternating between the A and B buttons on the 64. I love the animations of the forest with the little fairy and butterflies. Also, Glowbox's kids are just so adorably animated. The bonus levels aren't necessary, but they're short and a nice little change of gameplay in between levels. Giving them a quick review, I'd say they're cute and fun, and as far as a bonus, I'll give them a 9 out of 10. Jumping into the next level, we have the bayou. Before that, we get a cutscene. We cut to the pirate prison ship and get an update on how many slaves are on board. It's here we see the dorky robo-pirate we just raced in the bonus level as he's tripped by a henchman. No respect, I tell ya. I love that we see this from his perspective, though. It's hilarious to just see his face go into the ground. Finally, we meet the big bad of the game, Razorbeard. So this is the one who's been capturing everyone and stole all the lums. We actually see him eat one, and the overall 1,000 lums count we were supposed to collect drops down to 999. That's right, this holds true. Literally, there's one less lum to collect in the game now. I thought that was an awesome touch. Like, it gives real consequence and makes you want to save all the lums. So, he knows about the masks somehow. I don't know if this is common knowledge. Rayman seems surprised to know about the masks, but apparently he does, and so did Lee. But anyways, not too much to report in this cutscene otherwise, as he just sits there and talks. So let's get into the next level. We pop in and find we have to progress over some treacherous platforming to keep up with this ship. This is another breakup of the standard platforming. It adds a race against the clock kind of element. I really enjoy it. I'm sure a level like this was the basis for Rayman Arena in the future. It's fun, and I could see doing a race against a second player being awesome. This level ends up being more of the swamp aesthetic, but with a lot of rickety bridges you have to navigate. I'd say the music here, again, isn't too eventful, but I do like this level tests your skills with everything you've learned so far. You have platforming, combat, purple lums, and lots of helicoptering to do. This level doesn't necessarily introduce any more characters, but it does introduce an enemy type. This gorilla robot thing, it's fast and strong. You can't beat it with just your fists or traditional means. You have to find another way, or just avoid it completely, which is what I did. This brings us to the end of this level. I love how it ends. Jumping on these trampolines, it was a lot of fun. I think this level plays well, and again offers a unique breakup of gameplay to give you a sense of urgency and a bit more exploration. I enjoyed this one more than the last one, so I'm going to rank it higher with a 9 out of 10. We are entering the Sanctuary of Water and Ice, so let's do it! Into the level we go! We get to start out with a cutscene of Rayman being thrown up out of a portal and hurting his badonk-donk. Then we have a row of teensies who seem to have figured out who the king is. Or maybe not. Rayman's characters have so much charm. With just a few moments you can feel these characters. The teensies are no exception. And somehow, all of these characters are hilarious. Well, they prompt us to walk through this big scary door, so naturally we charge right through it. Also, I had to laugh because they threw in a little Calibre stew super subtly behind everything. For almost apparently no reason, if I'm being honest. Entering in this level, it doesn't start the way you'd expect. We get thrown onto a beach and attacked by a pirate. I didn't expect this at all. I thought there'd be some weird, like, portal-y looking place. I don't know. I didn't expect this. It does, however, have some fun little craps we can play with. I like how the music changes when we encounter the pirate to this intimidating soundtrack. But this battle I found very annoying because it almost switched to 2D and the pirate leaves every time he gets hit, so it just drags on. But once you get past that, we get into this cave where we have a small underwater section through caverns that looks really cool. The seaweed is placed just enough to add that extra feel to the aesthetic. As we progress forward, we now get into more of what I was expecting. After defeating some pirates, we can collect these orbs and carry them to these glowing pyramids. We throw them on top, and they unlock this other big door. We go through, and now we're talking. It looks like a portal into outer space, and I dig it. So we charge right through it. A charge! Now in the sanctuary, we get a slip slide game, which, as I've said earlier, these are actually really fun. I think what makes Rayman 2 feel good is its use of momentum. When Rayman moves fast, it carries over to his jumps and makes you feel like you're really moving. Once at the bottom, we encounter Axel, the first guardian we need to defeat. We do this by riding purple lumps to the top and throwing our fist at an iceberg. The music here is very mysterious, and I like that Axel is ice-themed. Himself as a model, though, feels a bit lazy. He's just a pyramid on a big body. The thing that irked me, though, is that when this iceberg drops on his head, he's still doing the same animation he was and just fades out. At least he could react to being hit. But anyways, we proceed forward and walk up to find this strange-looking totem. It reveals our first mask we need to collect after doing a cool animation connecting with Rayman's silver lump, I think? Or soul, hard to say, but it looks really cool, and I love everything leading up to this point. The mask is revealed, and honestly, it's creepy as heck. Suddenly, Rayman's teleported. And we get this super cool scenic looking world where we can see Polycus, the spirit of the world. I guess he says this is a dream world, and he says he'll help if we can gather the other masks. Polycus himself is so bizarre looking with this giant wizard hat and super long arms. He's basically a face on a pear. I like how he's animated and makes portals, though. It looks pretty powerful. He just spins his hand and boom, creates this little portal. I think the Sanctuary of Water and Ice is an interesting level and it has its charm, but ultimately feels very short. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. Moving forward, we enter the Menhir Hills. Menhir Hills. We'll just say Menhir Hills. Here's where it gets interesting. Murphy gives us some advice right at the start to tame the walking shells. I think these are supposed to look like rockets, but I always thought of them as pencils. You tame them by avoiding them until they slow down. I like how they make horse noises when you hop on. The gameplay here has changed, and we spend a majority of this level riding the shell. You can boost and jump. It's a fun, fast-paced breakup of gameplay. I gotta bring this up because it's been really bothering me. Rayman 2 keeps doing this thing of not playing music until something happens in the game. I've really noticed it as I've been playing this game for my channel and truly listening to the soundtrack. It's a little annoying.
I'd rather the tracks transition like Banjo, but it goes from no music and ambient noise to loud tracks, and it's really jarring. We have some interesting set pieces through the caves and around waterfalls. I actually really do like this level. Eventually we make our way to a pirate hideout and find pirates destroyed. It's Clark, our friend. We greet him with another Calabrew stew! And he tells us he's sick and needs a cure from the Cave of Bad Dreams. That's the place where Mike Wazowski was, I'm sure of it!
Mike Wazowski!
So that's where we need to go help Clark. And that brings us to the end of this level. I love this level. When most games break up gameplay, you get a crappy minigame, but somehow, Rayman always stays consistently good with breaking it up. I really love riding the shells, and I think this level stands as unique. I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10. We have to start out in the Marshes of Awakening and revisit Mike Wazowski on the left. This time we're greeted with a different cutscene. I wanted to point out how he's waving to us when we come up. How inviting. Anyways, he tells us he can read our minds and we know the name of the place. He tells us he's hidden a precious treasure inside and if we beat him to it, we can have it. Well, I'm not gonna say no to treasure, that's for sure. So we enter the cave via his skull wand thing. It looks like it hypnotizes us, and then we're blasted into the portal behind. I really like Rayman's fear here. The subtle noises he makes really make you feel like he's scared. But I gotta be honest, the animation of him going in this portal is not great. It ends with a freeze frame and he's not even in the portal. I'm not sure why this is the one cutscene that they cheaped out on, but maybe it's better in another version and it's just the N64. I don't know, you guys should let me know. We enter the Cave of Bad Dreams and we're greeted to some music, finally. I like it. It's creepy and mysterious. It's a lot of looping melodies that I think aid you in feeling like you're trapped in a nightmare. Also, the ambient wailing noises add creepiness in the background. The overall creepiness of this place is evident. I love the use of the purple and blue color palette. The River of Souls, for lack of a better thing to call it, looks deadly, so you instinctively know to avoid it. I also like that instead of spiderwebs or leaves on the wall to climb, we have bones. That's a great touch. The platforms are made of large skulls, and they're a little silly, but they're effective. I just want to see the beings that the skulls belong to. They must have been giant. Occasionally you have some branchy looking arms jut out and move a platform or try to attack you. They're animated and it's pretty cool. We got a few Mike Wazowski wannabes we have to rough up here to progress, but they pose no challenge for an experienced professional like myself. I think where this level shines is its creative use of platforming with skulls, arms, and twirling platforms. Even the tall structures you have to climb as they're descending make you feel like you need to move fast or you're going to be taken out. As we progress, we gather lums. You'll notice that there are no cages to find, only lums. It makes sense if people can't enter unless they know the name, so the pirates can't touch this place. I like the attention to detail with that. The best part of this level, though, is encountering Mike, and he chases you down a slidey path. They pop up a slightly animated 2D image of teeth on the screen that does the job effectively of making you crap yourself as you're trying to move as fast as possible to not get eaten. I still get all the lumps, though. So eat that, Mike Wazowski.
I can't believe it.
So everything culminated in a battle, and I use that term loosely. We basically avoid his fireballs until he shoots skulls. Then throw your fist at the skulls and you can use them to cross the platforms, eventually getting to the final part where he flees. After he disappears, we find this large treasure mound, where we're given a choice. We can take the treasure or not take it. The clear right choice is evident by the makers of the game. We take it, baby! And that's the end of Rayman 2, sitting fat and happy on a beach island with our treasure. Obviously not. But I love that this can happen. It takes us back to the choice, and we declined, and Rayman drops the coin. We're pulled out of the cave via a portal, and Rayman is back standing where he was. Mike gives us the elixir of life, which I love how it's animated. Big bubbles coming out of that, looks nasty as heck. But anyways, we navigate back to the Menhir Hills and give it to our pal Clark. But before we do that, I want to rate the Cave of Bad Dreams. For its creepy atmosphere, fun platforming, and decent music, I'm going to rate it a 9.5 out of 10. It was one of my favorite levels so far in this game. Hard to fault it. I really enjoyed it. The only minor gripe I have is that it had a lot of waiting for platforms to come. It wasn't difficult. I think it was just making progressing slower. If it was quicker or there were multiple ways to get past a certain area, it would have been an easy 10 out of 10. So, back to Clark in the Menhir Hills. We give him the elixir, which pumped him up like he just drank 4 Red Bulls. He's so excited he runs through a wall. It made me think of my little brother. So story time. When we were younger on Christmas morning, my brother was waking me up every 30 minutes from like 3 a.m. onward. I tell him to go to bed. It's not time. Finally, it's a normal human time around 8 or 9 in the morning, and I go in by him and he's sound asleep. I say, "Wake up! It's Christmas!" He throws off the covers, jumps up out of bed, and proceeds to run straight into the wall. Obviously, he can't run through it like Clark, but I thought it was a really funny story nonetheless. But I digress. Back into it, we slowly navigate through these prison areas and with Clark until we can exit and get another shell ride. While the scenery is interesting, I was having a hard time making the tight turns the game was requiring of me, which resulted in a few deaths I think weren't justified. But eventually I got through it, and we're greeted to a fun cutscene where Rayman dives off a cliff in this convenient portal. I know I already reviewed the Menhir Hills, so I thought I'll revise the score from my last video to reflect the level as a whole, because technically, it's all one level. Now that I have all the variables, I'm going to bring this level from an 8.5 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10. I'm giving an extra half a point due to the fun interactions with Clark, and one more final shell ride, even if it was harder to control than the first one. Moving on, we're entering the canopy. Is that Glowbox? Yes, it is! I bet we're gonna have some funny moments. So let's do it! Into the level we go! Entering this level, we're greeted to a huge spider, and the music is intense. I managed to cheese it, but that doesn't take away the dread of encountering something like this and not expecting it. We climb some webs, beat some pirates, and unlock a cage where our friend is. And wouldn't you know it, I was right. He does a fun rain dance for us to shut down a security door. Everything from his animations to his gibberish is just hilarious. Glowbox is great. The rest of the level proceeds with us platforming, with Glowbox following and finding things he can water with his rain dance. This opens up some cool ideas with flowers and plants, as well as breaking the doors. There is a section with a bush where you sneak through the security gate, which is hilarious. This is right at the end of the level. After a brief moment of him cowering a corner midway through this level, he also gives us a power-up. Conveniently, he has another silver lung. Now we can charge our fist, and it changes to the color gold. Just generally, we're stronger now.
Yeah!
Once we sneak past that security gate, we hit the end of the level. Now, this level feels short. The platforming is pretty basic. You'll spend a lot of time waiting for Glowbox to follow or backtracking to make him start following you. This makes the level feel slow, even though it's short. As much as I love Glowbox and the charm of this game, I'm gonna have to give this level a 6.5 out of 10. There just isn't enough in it to make it great, especially compared to the last 2 levels. This time we're entering Whale Bay, so let's do it! Into the level we go! Starting off in the level, we turn the corner and notice a large fish tank we can hop in. But before that, I wanted to go explore, and I got bombarded by attacks from this guy in a big barrel suit. Gosh, the tight corner for this battle is a huge pain in the butt. It's not hard, but it's tedious and it takes a while.
Five minutes later.
After that, I noticed a switch I could hit that allowed me to progress. But before that, I wanted to take a look at that tank. So I hopped in. We're greeted to a nice melody that's kind of mysterious and makes you feel like you're in an underwater cavern. But dang it, this just took me back to that switch. Wow, I think I was supposed to do that by going through this cavern, but I hit the switch outside. I don't know how it was so easy for me, but anyways, continuing on. The rest of the level really doesn't have music, unfortunately. We get some fun sections where we climb in a net and piranhas jump at us. We get a few pirate battles as we head out toward the bay. I haven't yet pointed out the sleeping pirates. They're pretty intimidating with their snoring, and then they jump up to attack so fast. Sometimes it'll spook you. Once entering the bay, we get to travel down an underwater tunnel to get to the other side and free this whale from its prison. Yay! We also get a cool section to get some lumps by using a shell. I'd be lying if I said I didn't get myself killed like 10 times before finally getting it right. So anyways, we free the whale and he swims off, leaving air bubbles for us to grab. This proves troubling once we progress to the next area, as piranhas start grabbing the air bubbles, so we have to defend them with our fists. But before we do that, we need to say how annoying it is that the last cutscene in this area sits on Rayman swimming away for a ridiculous amount of time, but for finally just cutting off with him stopping swimming. He doesn't swim off camera or anything, he just stops and the cutscene ends. It's so bizarre. Sometimes these cutscenes are a little janky. I'm thinking maybe this is only an N64 issue though. Let me know in the comments if you think otherwise. So we leave the whale, and we get a cool section with some crashed pirate ships. I really like the look of this area and the sunset vibes. Rayman 2 consistently does a good job of creating atmospheres. We also get the revenge of the gorilla pirate thing. However, this time, I got him to run right off the edge and die. Haha! Take that, loser. And that's the end. Now for my review. Honestly, I enjoyed a lot of the level. I think it had some good ideas that make it stand out from others. I wish the music would consistently play, but that's a reoccurring thing with this game. The ambient noises do help fill it out a bit though, so if I had to give a score to this level, I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10. It's really fun, and I enjoyed it a lot. Now moving on to the Sanctuary of Stone and Fire, I'd like to point out I got a bonus level and earned a new power-up from my fists, and they're golden now. I love that! The cutscene that plays here is the same cutscene as the last Sanctuary, which feels lazy, but whatever, at least we get a good old Gallibers too! Now, into the level we go! First things first, I need to try my power up, and dang, it slaps. It looks super cool. Now immediately you'll see this is the game's lava world. Lava flows everywhere, and you'll know we're just in for a lot of coptering. So I will say that I like this level has music playing a majority of the time. It sounds like an ancient jungle, which is fitting. The main mechanic of this level is hitting plums and getting them to fall into the lava and then riding on top of them. The plums can bounce across the lava, and you can throw your fist in the opposite direction you want to move. It's a fun change of gameplay, but if you want to get all the lumps, it can be frustrating to control. As we progress further into the Sanctuary, we have a lot more plums on lava sections, but somehow, it doesn't really get old. Rayman 2 is a good way of introducing things and not overdoing them. We do some platforming, get some orbs to throw on these pyramids, and that awakes the guardian of the sanctuary, Umber. He's basically a walking statue. All we have to do is jump on top of him, unlike the last guardian, and he walks down the lava until he disappears. We progress and earn another mask. A cool thing about this mask is it's a reference to Tonic Trouble's main character, Ed. I just love that so much. Tonic Trouble was a great game. Hopefully one day I'll go over it on this channel. It deserves it. After we get the mask, we bring it to Polycus, and he sends us on our way. The Sanctuary of Stone and Fire is a super dope level. I love the change up of gameplay again and the atmosphere of it. I like the Guardian was completely different than the first one too. If I'd have to rank it, I'd give this one a 9.5 out of 10. It's just a great level, only brought down by the controls of the plums on lava, making collecting 100% of plums a bit challenging. Now before I leave you, I wanted to go over a bonus level that you can find on the bayou. If we immediately go to the left, we can see Lee and enter a level where we can race her. This was something I was super addicted to as a kid. I loved racing her, and she gives you power-ups and stuff when you finish. There's something super satisfying about these races and moving quickly, not to mention jumping on the spider webs. Although Lee herself is just so fast, sometimes you feel like you can't catch up to her. You know, it's a short level of racing, and you can replay it at any time. It's just so much fun, though. I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. It's probably the basis for Rayman Arena, honestly. And with that, let's continue our Rayman 2 adventure. This time we're starting off in the Echoing Caves, so let's do it! Into the level we go! Entering in, we're greeted to a cutscene of a robot pirate entering a super secret club door. Well, I want to be in the club. We gotta get in that door, so let's go! I like we're greeted here to some fun music right off the bat. It's simple, but better than not having any music and just ambient noises like this game likes to do. So this level consists of us trying to hit the 4 switches to open the doors. We have 4 pathways to go and have different things to do. My favorite being we encounter Gorilla Face and getting to throw a plum on his head and use it to climb. It's so satisfying. It may be just to get a lum, but dang, I love it. Then the sky's the limit. You can pick any path in any order. We've got one we have to cross these new platforms with propellers that will flip at the end of their path. We're also introduced to some secondary switches that are timed and can open doors. I love this part where we can fall down holes to reach a new section. It's fun and gives us a little golden arrow to show we aren't just going to kill ourselves. There's also one we have to reach through an underwater path. Anyways, once we get all the switches, we can enter the club door. We're greeted to another section with a new game mechanic. Seriously, I know I say this every time, but the developers did such a great job. Every single gameplay breakup is good. This one, you take a barrel, light it with the torches, and you can fly in the air. It's a lot of fun, and it's so fast. I also like it plays the main theme of Rayman 2 when doing it. Now this level has an interesting path. If you fly up to this little corner, we get a sign that says the Fairy Glade. That's right, we drop back in the previous level and we can find the last cage in Lums. I thought this backtracking was different and super cool. I liked it a lot. I have to point out that although it was cool, the game glitched out on me more than once. I managed to grab the cage by glitching through the wall. I don't know how to actually get it, but I guess I'll take it. I thought I was going to be either trapped forever or die, but I did neither. Good recovery, Rayman.
Good recovery!
Now we're back in the level and have to hit a quick switch by being clever, and then we can progress. We encounter more barrel rides, and they are fun. I like the fire animation that comes off them, like exploding gunpowder. We also get some fun platforming sections over acid. The acid has some cool smoke animations that actually animate creepy skull faces, so you know it's dangerous. It's a subtle touch that a lot of people probably completely overlook, but it's awesome. Now we can free the teensies in the cage and finish the level. This was a solid level, but I experienced some glitches here. So, rating it, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. The level had some cool ideas, and backtracking to a completely different area of one of the first levels was an awesome choice. I love that it didn't just take us back, it took us to a totally different section we normally couldn't get to. Moving forward, we're entering into the precipice. We get a cool cutscene to start off with Razorbeard, the big bad, and the goofy first mate pirate. I love Razorbeard getting mad and throwing his hat at him. It's just so cartoony and silly. It's fun. I just love it. Entering the level itself, we're greeted to fast platforming on bridges that are either being taken out by cannon fire from this ship or plagued with shells running at us. To say I died a lot here is an understatement. It got to the point where I was dying just because the bridge collapsed and I couldn't jump at the precise moment it was either too soon or too late. It was creating a lot of frustration for me. I like the sense of urgency, but dang, it was getting old pretty fast. There also isn't much to look at here. It's like we're running on the side of a mountain or something. Eventually we do make it to the second section, and this is where the level really shines. And by shine, I mean we enter through the gates of hell. We're bombarded with cannons and shells and have to make our way quickly to the end, and then upwards with the ground falling under us constantly. I like the variation of climbing and jumping on this trampoline sail things. The water rising is also something cool and new, but the bridge breaking caused, again, a lot of deaths. The difficulty spike here is incredible. Eventually we finally make it to part 3, and shocker, more bridge running, and less scenery. But at least the lighting is changing between these sections to give some difference, I guess. I like the end part right here where we fall and have to helicopter over as many homing copter cannonball things that fly at us. Even though it's slow, the music here makes you feel like you're falling, and it's intense. This is my favorite part of the level so far, but that's honestly a low bar at this point. We land, we have to get past a few more bridges, and then we can fight the pirate driving that ship. Good riddance, I'd say. Holy cow, he had a lot of health. Let's break this cage and leave. Now this is the first time I'm really going to talk like this, but this level is poo-poo garbage. Ranking it, I'm giving it a 4 out of 10, only justified by cool ideas and a few brief sections that were fun. It was overly frustrating and super annoying. Pressing forward, we're jumping into the top of the world. This level draws you in right away with Gorilla Boy flying upside down on this chair. Then he spots you and we can lure him off the edge and watch him fall to his doom. We get to ride the chair now. The controls are simple. You can throw your fist, which annoyingly has no animation, but I'll let that go. You tilt the joystick left and right and the chair rotates. Your goal is to make it past all the obstacles and collect as many lums as possible. Dang, it's pretty fun. I was really enjoying this one, a huge step up from the last level already, especially as it's full of things to look at, even though it's crazy fast. There's a jungle, there's ship pieces, and pipes until finally we're kicked off into an area where the pirates are alerted to our presence with an alarm. We have to fight a barrel guy, which poses no challenge to me. We get a few tight corners and climbing before facing some more barrel guys. Eventually I made it to the end and wondered where the heck the teensy was. I broke all the cages, what gives? I was thinking the game glitched out on me again or something. Maybe he was stuck? But wisely, going back, I found an area I didn't go to, broke a door, and found the teensy. Then I managed to finish. This is fundamentally different than any other level, so I don't know how someone is supposed to know this. I mean, hopefully you'd explore, but it just seemed to me breaking up the formula that you've established already so many times seemed weird. This level was fast-paced, fun, and did have some different ideas that I enjoyed. I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10, much better than the last level. Now finally we're gonna hit up the Sanctuary of Rock and Lava. Starting in, I noticed Lee to the left, so I checked it out. It's another race! I totally forgot there was another one. So never mind, we're doing the race. I love these so much. This is just as cool as the last one. Rather than spider webs, we have lily pads and we have to be careful to jump across the river. There's lots of scenery here and I love the rays of light coming through the trees. This does make me wish that Rayman had a slightly higher jump though, but it's still so much fun. I finished the race, and she grants you a bonus. I love watching Glowbox's babies dancing with flags. There's so much charm to this. It's so cute. The race also gets a 10 out of 10. It's just a lot of fun. Now back to the sanctuary. We have to fight a pirate right away, but I'm so strong he's dead in one hit. Gotta love those golden fists. Now I'm a little disappointed because we're starting in a swamp, which I hate poopy looking levels. We get some ghosts we have to kill that, to be fair, are pretty creepy. I like how when you defeat them they fall apart into a bunch of pieces like old bones. It's just a nice little touch. We also weirdly enough get a ton of eyeballs to beat. They just kind of bounce around. Engaging in some simple platforming, we reach the entrance to the sanctuary, beat a ton of eyeballs in this room for some reason, and pirates, and enter in. This place is filled with spiky vines on the floor and jutting out of the walls, so we have to be careful. The music is simple and kind of creepy. We have some slow platforming segments where we have to ride these purple flower things. They kind of take a while. Thankfully, if we fall off though, we can get right back on. We enter deep into the sanctuary and the music changes suddenly, and the walls are shooting fire at us, trying to burn the plant we're riding. Phew! That was close. We have some cool walls that look like they're straight out of an Egyptian pyramid. We can break them, and I like how as we hit them, they get weaker and weaker until they break. When we hit the bottom of this place, there's lava everywhere. Whew, didn't see that coming. I thought it would be all swampy. I welcome this change. I really want to highlight that the shading they did with the red coming off the lava into the walls, it looks really good and adds to the ambience. There's a fun section here with a fall of lava. We cleverly use the platform above us to block and walk under. I like how it looks bright and yet hot and gooey. We do some platforming, hit some switches, and bada bang, bada boom. We reach these sections with giant spiky walls trying to push us into lava. It's all about timing here, so naturally, I was flawless. Pressing forward, we find the cage for the teensy. I was expecting a guardian and a mask. What the heck? If we go through the portal and it's revealed the next level is beneath the Sanctuary of Rock and Lava, I guess ranking this one, we'll have to give it a 7 out of 10. It was solid, but not remarkable in any way. Maybe we'll see more in the next area. So let's do it. Into the level we go. We're greeted to a familiar cutscene. Yes, it's the same cutscene as before, so we'll just get past it. Dropping into the level, we have a small cutscene where Lee shows up. Wow, I love the animation of her body forming in with the silver lumps. Oh look, we get a new power. Yes! We can fly! So basically now, if we hold A when we copter, we can fly. It controls simply, but it works really well. Although they expect us to have some precision with how high this lava is. This level, as expected, has a lot of verticality. We have to constantly make judgments on our height level, and it can get pretty tricky, especially when every wall looks the same with thorny vines. There are a couple sections with fans that blow and push you gently toward a direction. I like the light rays that come off of it. They look good. Some people may find this level a bit slow, but to me I think it paces nicely and gives you a bunch of nice visuals, like this lava room. Look at the lava falls. One thing I like that's super cool is how we have to throw our fist at this angled structure to bounce it into this doorway on the ground and get it open. There should be more levels like that and more puzzles like that. That could make some great puzzles. As we progress, coptering does get harder. It can be challenging, especially if you want to get all the lums. But it isn't overly challenging right now if you're just trying to make it through. Eventually, we do make it through a doorway where we get jumped and sucker punched by the guardian of the sanctuary, Fouch. He's the same design as Axel, but this time in yellow to resemble lava. It feels a bit lazy, but we'll run with it. Of course, this takes away our ability to fly, and we no longer have it for the rest of the game. I guess it would make the rest of the levels too easy, so they had to get rid of it. This battle is a bit different. You have to run around Crash Bandicoot style, avoiding the fire blast until you see a spider web. Then you can bounce on it and hit a conveniently placed stalactite, which hits him. Do it until he's gone. Can we just talk about the aesthetic of this world? It's super bright and colorful. I like the look of the bright yellow orangish lava flowing everywhere. But naturally, after beating this guardian, we acquire another mask. These masks always look creepy, but anyways, we give it to Polycus, and bada bing, bada boom, we beat this level. Ranking this level, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. It's really fun, and no other level in the game really even resembles it. It's a lot of fun, even if they do take away your super cool and new ability. Also, I love the colors and vibrancy, if you couldn't tell. Moving forward, it's time to enter the Tomb of the Ancients, so let's do it? Ah, another cutscene. Note that the prisoner count? Dang, we're getting up there. Basically the same as every other cutscene, but Razorbeard is informed of us having 3 masks. He falls off and is hanging off the side of his chair, which is pretty funny. Swirling into the level, we're greeted with some creepy music. I mean, geez, it's spooky, with a deep synth and sharp strings. Right at the start, we're greeted to a sign that says Clark was captured. Not again, not Clark. We open a gate and we're greeted to a spider battle. We'll see a bunch of spiders here. It's important to note that the music gets irritating when the spider comes. You know that tune, but it never stops.
Make it stop!
Looking past that, pay attention to the detail of these souls floating up from the vents. What kind of place is this? Progressing a bit further, there's this massive hole we can drop into. There's a body in the middle, and I low-key thought it was going to rise up and attack me, but it never did. Luck of the draw that time. Aesthetically looking at this place, there's a lot to take in. We have tombs, crypts, skeletons, gravestones, spirits, spiders, spiderwebs, sections with ships, and skull gates. Some interesting and unique enemies here I really like are the hands that extend out of these coffins. They're super creepy, and if they touch you, it's an instant kill. You can throw a fist at the eyeballs to stop them temporarily. Full disclosure, as this level has tons of water, or what I think is water, it looks disgusting. It's like green. And brown in some cases. Also, it can't be understated how annoying the spiders are in this level. They seem to be at every twist and turn. Eventually we make our way to these sections where we have to ride barrels downstream. Now, I can't say I particularly like this breakup of gameplay, only because it takes forever. Like this part where we hit switches to get past electricity, and often it's a case of you turning and shooting at enemies coming at you in different directions until you reach your goal. Sometimes platforming is enough. You don't need 5,000 ghosts charging at you trying to knock you off. I won't say it's all bad, because when it's used in conjunction with another mechanic like the barrel rockets, it can be fun. Eventually, we find our friend Clark, who's happy to see us until he is manipulated and mind-controlled.
Rayman! Clark!
I really like how his eyes look when he's controlled. It's like psychedelic. And him walking around like a zombie is hilarious. We also get a super cool perspective of the first mate remote controlling him. It took me a second to realize I could move. The battle is fairly easy. You hit switches and trigger this laser till he runs into it and falls, and then you hit the thing in his back until it breaks. When it's finally destroyed, he picks you up and you can use his height to break the teensy cage and leave. This level's pretty cool. I tend to like spooky levels, and I enjoyed this boss fight. A lot about it was great, but I'm knocking off a point for the amount of annoying spiders, and a half a point for the annoying ghosts in the barrel section, so I'm going to give this level a 7.5 out of 10. Now that we've completed the Tomb of the Ancients, we're hiking up to the Iron Mountains, so let's do it! Into the level we go! Ah, here we are again. The same cutscene. I guess we'll skip it again. Jumping into this level, you'll notice it's raining hard. I like that. I'm sure other levels probably had some weather effects. Maybe I just didn't notice, but I really noticed it here. We get to have some fun with purple lums right off the bat, but then it's down to business. We enter this bizarre looking spinning chamber with light spinning, and I think I'm gonna hurl.
I'm gonna hurl!
We fall down and we're in a nice looking grassy area. Ah! We'll beat some pirates, climb some boxes, and eventually get to descend down a waterfall and hover into a hot air balloon. Wow, that was wild. That's really creative. These are the kind of levels one would remember when playing a game like this. And then we get a glorious ride in the balloon with cool music until Rayman just decides to jump off. I mean, dang, dude. Then we're in front of a giant... Is that the thing from Star Wars? Wow, not messing with it right now. Let's make our way into the ship. Oh, we can pick off Gorilla Face Guy. Oh, and if we break the right cage, we can free some of Glowbox's kids. Then we slide down, get a ride through a shell, defying gravity and running up walls. And although it's super cool, your natural inclination is to try to move around, and the controls get super whack with this one. It's hard to describe other than gravity isn't really the same on a shell, but it still exists. Eventually, we open the gate to let Glowbox's children out and save them from this laser thing. Then we progress past this bridge and the ATST. So we head into the forestish area and we find Glade, who is Glowbox's wife. She's crying for her babies. We hop in this conveniently placed ship and go search for them in the mines. This gameplay is pretty basic. We're just moving the ship around, navigating through a small maze until we find every mine. And you auto pull up to them as you get close, so it's not a huge deal. And then we gather the kids. There's an option to shoot and a few enemy strongholds to take down, but not much. It is cute when the kids enter the ship though. Every time there's like 20 to 30 of them, and just seeing them bounce is adorable. Also important to note, the music is nice. It's just a variation of the main theme. The ship also makes some wood creaking noises, a little too often if you ask me, but it does fit well. So we return the kids to Glade, and now she's happy to have her babies. One of them just says, "Hey Rayman, I found this in the mine," and wouldn't you know, it's the last mask that we need. I don't know, that's a little silly for the plot, but I guess we'll take it. We say bye to our friends who are just animated adorably. I find it funny when Rayman is waving by, it sounds like he says, "Hello!" Wow. So we visit Policus, and basically he tells us he's ready to fight, but we have to take on Razorbeard. He gives us some power, and let's do it! Into the last level we go. Enter the prison ship. But before that, my review. The Tomb of the Ancients is a fun level where it feels like they threw a bunch of ideas in it that they'd been wanting to try but ran out of time, so they packed them all into one level. It's all pretty fun too. I'm gonna dock a couple points for the weird controls on the shell, but other than that, it's a great level. For that, it gets a 9.5 out of 10. Now, onto that prisoner ship. We're greeted to yet another cutscene. This time it's a familiar face for those who have played Tonic Trouble. The General. He's here, selling a robot to defeat Rayman with. He doesn't serve any other purpose than a fun little reference, and I like how he's animated. Starting at the level, it's a slidey one. We slide down the ship into the heart of it. It's not too long, but it's a lot of fun, and the aesthetic is really cool. I like seeing all the different parts of the ship. Rayman's slidey levels just work. Once we hit the end, we enter a new area where we have to fight a pirate with a ton of health and horribly placed spikes that killed me more than once. Once we get past that, we hit a switch, and we can encounter a new type of shell. It flies. Whoa! It basically works like tilting the joystick up or down, adjusting your height, while tilting left or right makes you rotate. It's a little wonky at first, but it does work once you get used to it. And the game makes sure you get used to it by giving you an entire section to navigate through quickly. You may die a few times, but you get pretty good fast. This is actually good technique, I think, by the developers to get people skilled enough because, you guessed it, the second part of the boss fight is using this shell. But before that, we get to the top of the ship. Glowbox is being held hostage. We swoop in like a true friend and stand up to Razorbeard. This part's pretty easy. We wait for him to launch cannons and then we hit them back to knock him down. Eventually he falls through the floor, and so do we. I love the animations of the falling for both characters. Rayman seems to be falling to his doom, which is a little bizarre because he can copter, but he doesn't hear, and previously we just jumped out of a hot air balloon like miles above everything. But anyways, for whatever reason he's falling to his doom in this place, Lee sends magic to save him and puts him conveniently in front of this flying shell. Also, she talks to us as a creepy floating head, which is just disturbing. So you guessed it, round 2. This part's pretty tough. We have to grab shots for our shell and then turn around tightly and hit Razorbeard's robot arms until he falls into lava. There's a lot of tight turns here that sometimes feel impossible, not to mention eventually he starts firing homing missiles that are way too good at following us. But, like the professional gamer that I am, I powered through it and eventually made Razorbeard so mad he blows up the place. I should point out that he does in fact escape. We're led to believe Rayman is gone, as the only thing his friends have left is his shoe. They all look so sad. But eventually, a baby Glowbox sees the shoe react, and Rayman hobbles in using a stick. He's tackled with love, and his foot reassembles. Rayman's okay! Everyone's happy and the day is saved, so let's party. Fireworks launching, this is the end, with a little tease at a potential sequel maybe? But we'll talk about that some other time. So, this is the longest end credit scene I've ever endured in my life, and spoiler, there isn't anything at the end. This is Ubisoft, not Marvel after all. So first let's review this last level. I think it was bold to introduce a new game mechanic and then make it a big part of the last fight, but it worked well. I enjoyed it a ton and the level itself was a lot of fun, so I'm going to give the end of this game a 9 out of 10. Now as you know, Rayman 2 had a ton of levels. Not all winners, but more often than not they were. Ranking Rayman 2 as a whole is something I must do fairly and objectively. Would I recommend it to people? Absolutely. In fact, I already have. It has a few shortcomings and this may not be the best version of the game, but it has a lot of heart, charm, and there's a lot of fun to be had. Overall, Rayman 2 is going to get an 8 out of 10 from me. Well, that's all I have for you, and that completes another game in my analyzing series. If you haven't watched the other parts, check them out. I have complete playlists for every game I analyze from start to finish. I hope you'll like, subscribe, and hit that noti bell. Let me know in the comments what you think of this game, and if you love the boss fight. Until next time, have a good one!